Scott Woodside's compelling and unique stories. All true. You be the judge. Or, well, Woodside shares stories of his 30 years in radio and TV, sales management, stationery business, and cemetery and funeral businesses. Totally unpredictable, amusing, sketchy, and kind of hard to believe. All right, Woodside, hit us with another one of your stories.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. Today, my guest is Mara Davis, Atlanta maven, big radio star. God, you've got your hand in just about everything.
I mean, radio star. I mean, what is radio anymore? But hi, Scott. I want your audience to know that when I heard you were launching a podcast, I said, let me be a guest, please. And I'm your first one.
Yes. And you know, you never forget your first.
But often the first is not memorable. So I want to make sure that this is good for you.
You know, we worked together for a short time on Z93, and one thing I'll always remember about you is your great wit, your great personality, and you're one of the very few people that have ever been able to make me laugh.
Well, thank you. We had a lot of good laughs. Radio used to be so much fun. And you know, it right back at you. You're one of the funniest people I know. But back then it was just, you just got so excited to go to work. You got to do creative things. It was fun. But I used to be really bitter about radio, like I think, and maybe this comes with age. I'm just so happy I had the experience when it was good.
That's really a good way to put it. For years I was bitter too, but I knew that I wasn't going to continue to be successful in broadcast and make the money I was used to making. I knew. So I had to reinvent myself. And they say, the best thing you can ever do is pull the rearview mirror out and look forward. And
well, to pivot off that, I had no choice but to kind of reinvent after radio. I had such a glorious, glorious run in Atlanta at Z93 and then Dave FM. And then when Dave FM ended, I just thought like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? Like, this is all I know how to do is be on the radio. And there's been so many peaks and valleys and successes and heartbreaks, but I'm so happy for the experience because it's like the main job, like my main paying job right now is that I'm a talent booker and I book for major television networks and podcasts and different things. And it's all my background in radio that led me to that because I know people. So, and I have absolutely no problem now being behind the scenes and like doing the prep sheet for the talent. Like I'm totally cool with that. It's really all good, but it did take me a long time to get here. Like I was really very bitter and very pissy at the industry. And right now it really just bums me out that the industry that I love so much really had these incredible opportunities to maximize on talent, new media, digital, podcasting, breaking new music, being really edgy. And it was just all about sales and a spreadsheet. It just never meant anything beyond that. So, in a way, I tell everybody who's still in radio right now, and there's not many people left, diversify immediately. And, you have to do what you love. It's like nobody gets into podcasting. If you're getting into podcasting to make money, like you are on crack because you know what I mean? Like I do another podcast and it costs me money to do it, but it gives me so much joy to talk about whatever I want. And no one's on my ass about telling me like, oh, don't say this, don't say that, hurry up. By the end of my radio career, Scott, all I did was say, here's Coldplay. And then they told me I was talking too much.
Yeah. I did a whole podcast on that about how, our ratings went down the tank when we were at Z93 doing mornings because the so-called consultant would come in and say, hey, you're talking too much. We're going to add more music. God, it was the kiss of death.
Yeah. And I don't miss that at all. And so I think it's been pretty good. I flirted with a little TV stuff for a while, and I'd still always be open to doing anything, but my big ego is still there, and I love the attention, and I love being in front of a microphone or a camera. It's like, what's my call time? Like, I love it. But I also like to do things that keep me fulfilled. And, just look at in the pandemic, having any freaking job is a blessing.
Is there a pandemic?
um, you know, this has just been like such an eye-opening year. I mean, what a year. I mean, it's just there's just so much to say. Um, but I try to be, I mean, I don't want to sound like a friggin', Pollyanna and shit. Can I swear on your podcast?
Yeah, hell yeah.
But like I've been trying to find like the light in the dark times, because it's just been such a fuck fest this year. I mean, not just with everything that's happened, but just with the way people act and the way like nobody knows how to handle each other anymore. Like social media just fascinates me. Scott, I do a political podcast called the Vote Her Podcast with Senator Jen Jordan, who's a state senator. Okay, she's fabulous. Do you know who she is?
No, I don't.
She's a state senator in the 6th district, and she became the most well-known when Georgia had that crazy restrictive abortion bill, HB 481. And she became this like social media firestorm because she gave this impassioned speech at the Georgia State House. And I became a super fan of this because it was just like, oh my God, here's a strong woman just telling it like it is. And so anyway, I got to know her on Twitter and we became friends. And then we ended up doing this podcast together about Georgia politics during the pandemic, which was like, oh my God, I can't believe this woman is willing to do a podcast with me, someone who likes to, someone who like laughs at fart jokes and you know what I mean? So I learned a lot and that was amazing. But my point about social media is so it can be great because it can lead you to like this path of like something I would never dream of doing. But then there's this other path. Last week, when Jon Ossoff and Reverend Warnock won the Senate race, all I put on my Facebook, Scott, and I don't know if you saw it because you and I are friends, all I wrote. So every week I link to my podcast, which is clearly a Democratic leaning podcast. It's called Vote Her Podcast. It's all in blue. Pretty freaking obvious. I put on Facebook, I love you, Atlanta, Georgia, in all capital letters. And I had to block like 12 people. Yes, it blew my mind. You don't like freedom. You kill babies. So that is like a really like funny, but like revealing, but like what the fuck by like, I normally would not. And listen, as far as I'm concerned, I'll block whoever I damn want. It's my personal page. And I try not to get too political because I think my goal is I want to find connections with people that aren't like-minded. Like, I think that's what we've lost in our culture is that, one of our dear friends who passed away sadly a couple of years ago, Scott Keithley, is so sad. He died tragically, but but let's talk about his positive note. Like Scott was a pretty hardcore Republican, a more libertarian Republican. But anyway, we would bicker. We'd go to dinner and bicker. And at the end, we would hug and have the best time. And it would never, ever come between our friendship. Never. And I always appreciated his points of view. I liked being tested. I thought it was great for me to kind of have my views be challenged. And sometimes I may have even changed my mind. And that's what I think find so funny about social media. It's so weird because it's like that mostly on Facebook, because on Twitter I'm on fire. I mean, like I go off. And it's been like a real joy. Like I trolled Kelly Loeffler for a whole year. Even before all the racism, anti-Semitism, and pretending she's from a farm. I mean, you know how she wore those like outfits
I loved the hair extensions.
and the one barrette, it was like one barrette, and how she like, but anyway, I mean, so, we've learned a lot in this pandemic. We've learned that we could talk about dinner starting at 9 in the morning. What are we going to be eating? And we've also learned that if you can put up with your spouse, I don't know how you and Cindy have been doing.
I'll tell you what, we've lived in this house for 27 years, and it's half the size it was this time last year. It just keeps getting smaller and fucking smaller. And I don't know what it is, but I'll go into the master bath and Cindy's in there. And I say, you know what? It's a big house. And we sit there and laugh. She says, why the hell are you in the bathroom the same time I am? It's crazy.
It is a funny test of marriage. And we've actually, Mike and I, you were at my wedding.
Yes. Great. One of the best weddings ever.
And we are still together. And so it's been like, listen, there's been a lot of heartache too, and I'm not going to get into it because a lot of sad shit's happened too. But so I think that's why, getting back to the radio conversation, it gives so much perspective on the dumb things we used to bitch about.
So true.
To think, Scott, I worked in radio and I could show up at a fucking cell phone store for 2 hours and make a couple $100 to do literally nothing, to call in for 60 seconds and say, come on down and you get this plan and, whatever. The fact that like it was almost like stealing. Like, how did I do that?
Well, hell, I even did some tire store remotes. Come on down, buy a set of 4 brand new tires, and we'll give you an opportunity to get a free album. And maybe if you're lucky, we'll put you in a drawing for tickets. I mean, some concert that no one would pay to go see anyway, because radio stations have never taken money out of their own back pocket to create nice prizes for listeners.
Well, that's what's just, again, going back to the conversation about how they really missed an opportunity in really engaging in new media. But I mean, some of the things that like, the idea like that I would show up at a car dealership and do a call in and that anybody would actually buy a car because I was there.
Right. Right.
I mean, that is just, I mean, listen, it was a great run. But it's so liberating now, Scott, is that because I know I'm never going to get a job in radio again. Maybe public radio is the only place that I'd have any interest in being in terrestrial. So please give a donation to GPB and WABE. I love public radio.
I do too. It's a free voice.
It was, even though it's so funny, because I used to do a segment on WABE with the great Steve Goss. Did you work with Steve Goss at all?
I never did. I knew him when he was at Peach.
Okay.
But we never worked together.
So we did a segment together, and then right before the pandemic, they cut my music segment because they said they wanted to focus more on politics. Meanwhile, they were way ahead of their time because obviously the no live music happened after March. But, that was a great opportunity too. And I hope to go back to that. But I look back at radio and I look at all the sexist shit I had to deal with, just unbelievable. Some of the dumbest things that were ever said to me. Let me give you a couple of examples. And that's why I have full freedom of saying this shit because I don't care. I won't name names. I'll tell you in private. But one program director told me to not air my interview with Adele because she was hard to understand. Okay. Another great comment was when I started talking about like doing requests when I did my Radio Free Lunch, I would say post on my Facebook page or send me a tweet. And a program director said, stop talking about social media so much because CBS is going to be building their own platform. So we don't want to be giving the other ones attention. But here's my all-time favorite, which sticks with me forever. And that is two women can't do a morning show together. And that was something that I heard throughout my entire career. And it's like, and it was said, Scott, as if it was just like, no big deal. Or like, even like thinking that it was said two women can't be played back to back. Like this is in our day and age, this is in such insanity. But I was told that by my agent, may he rest in peace. He passed away last year. It was very sad, but still, but it was part of the reason why, it just wasn't working for me with him anymore because I just couldn't believe that anybody would have that mentality. And that's pretty an unbelievable thing. And I would say things like, what about The View? What about Kathy Lee and Hoda? What about, and he'd be like, well, that's TV. That's not the same. And I'm like, well, but what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. So, you know, uh, it is what it is. And that's why, again, I love doing a podcast because I don't have any research. I mean, I don't make one dime. There's no money, but I can just yammer on. And, people will listen and you can build a following because, I mean, podcasts are so great. Do you listen to any in particular that you really like?
No, I've just started. It's like a brand new, part of my life, podcast, after all these years.
There are so many of them that are like my favorite are documentary style. I do like true crime, and they really immerse you. It's like binge watching a show or reading a great book and you get addicted to them. And at some point, I'll give you a whole list of some of my favorites to listen to, but they really open your mind and it does the things. It's like old time radio when it used to be like theater, but the way some of these more advanced podcasts, they have incredible sound design, and the host isn't necessarily a radio host. Sometimes it's just a great journalist who's taking you through their story. And I have got like here's a good recommendation for you. There's one where we are in this moment in time. There's a podcast called No Expectations. I'm sorry, it's called No Compromises. And it's done by two NPR reporters, one in Atlanta named Lisa Hagen. And it's all about extreme right-wing gun groups. And it literally goes through like 8 episodes of these crazy protests like the Capitol that have happened all over the country, and how these people are radicalized on social media. So when I saw all of that go down, I was like, oh my God, this is like that podcast I listened to. And they're on the ground talking to people. And again, a podcast like that is a major investment. There's a lot of people editing and working on it. And it's like it's like a documentary series, but they're so compelling and informative. And there's something that sound can really do. The way radio, how it's so intimate, how you feel like, and that's the other thing I love about podcasts. When you find a great one like that, podcast hosts are so accessible. I reach out to all of them afterwards, and whether I tweet them or send them a note, because it's so intimate, and you just never know what you're going to learn or how that's going to open your mind. So I'm just such a huge fan of the medium.
Well, think about this when we did radio, and we would have, the best guest we've ever had in our life to come on our show. And the program director would say, well, you can only talk to them through 3 stop sets. A stop set is going into a commercial break. And I said, well, that's only a total of, and you have to drop a record. So you have to be real careful about that because we're music intense, because we're playing burned out classic rock and roll music. And we want to burn that song one more time. Anyway, and you would have to tell the guest, I'm sorry, we don't have any more time.
Right.
But thank you for schlepping all the way from Hartsfield Jackson. Thanks for coming to the show.
Right.
And they just look at you like, really? That's it? I came here for that?
Well, I mean, it was just different than where like that was the only game in town. You did when you were somebody famous or you were promoting something, you did like the Good Day, whatever city it is. And you did a handful of radio stations and you got the AJC or Atlanta Magazine or whatever, the big print outlets were in the market. Now it's just, there's so many more avenues to promote. An example is on my podcast, the Vote Her podcast, we had Andrew Yang on and he said the coolest thing to us. So when he came to Georgia, because he was campaigning for Warnock and Ossoff, so he had been here for a month doing that. And I started, really like, again, my real job is a talent booker. So I'm like a stalker, I know how to find people. And we booked him for the podcast. And he said, the biggest reason I got known when I was running for president is because the only place that I could get interviewed were tech podcasts. So I did every single tech podcast. So I got so young, because my question to him was, why did he resonate with young people so much? And he said it was because he did all these podcasts with young people. And he has said, the reason I did your podcast is because it was so successful for me. I will continue to be on people's podcasts. Now, it did help that I was doing a podcast with a state senator, who had some influence. I don't think maybe if I was, Joe Blow, if I was Scott Woodside's podcast, I don't know if you can get him. But I think Jen kind of sealed the deal for that one. But it's such a great message where it's like, that's why it's just such a great kind of like FU to radio in a weird way, because people don't have to rely on that anymore. There is no loyalty to it. I mean, look, did you hear what happened today with Cumulus Radio? Meanwhile, I'm still such a radio nerd, even though I'll sit here and diss radio and how like I'll never go back and I'm over it. But yet, if any morsel of radio news, I'm in.
Well, what did that remind you of when we worked in radio? The way management came down on the talent and said, you need to stop this shit on the air. It's getting us in trouble and we're going to lose our license. Finally.
It was so interesting because, so just for anybody listening to back up, the head of Cumulus Radio basically said, if you're spreading propaganda that the election was fraud, or if you're saying mistruths, you can't do that anymore. And these were conservative hosts like Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin and I forgot who the other, Dan Bongino. The difference is like, there's like yelling fire in a movie theater, right? They're causing like real damage. It's one thing, but it is a slippery slope. And it is unbelievable to me how this was the radio chain who banned the Dixie Chicks, who I know in particular, and I won't name names, Scott, but I know people currently right now at Cumulus, 2 women in particular who got spoken to about their tweets, their political tweets, saying you can't do political tweets, but yet any of the Trumpier hosts on their Twitter never got spoken to. So it's pretty unbelievable that they came out today and said, we're not going to tolerate that at Cumulus anymore. I mean, hey, look, on one hand, it's better late than never, but it's also a weird time in First Amendment or free speech zone, because a lot of people are confusing Twitter, uh, you know, taking the president off Twitter to First Amendment. So it's murky.
Someone said recently, people will believe anything from those who feed them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's, so I think, someone like a Mark Levin, his audience, they love him so much. I mean, look, I love Howard Stern so much and I listen to him regularly. If he told me to do something, I may freaking do it because I believe him and I love him. So that's where these things get so dangerous. But it is pretty amazing to me that Cumulus did come out. And the head of Cumulus, the guy that did all this, he's an Atlanta guy too. So it's really interesting to see what's going to happen with that. But I mean, look, there's no lady talk show hosts on radio. Again, it goes back to when two women can't do a show together. When I got out of radio, I talked to WSB. I was like so hot. Like I wanted to try, or at least, and they were like, what's your cause? Like, what's your, like, as in, it's not worth entertaining you because you're not like a firebrand. And in a way, I get that. But it was just, I mean, and look, to their credit and to their defense, didn't have any experience doing talk radio. It wasn't my medium. But they don't have, I mean, they had that one lady, Monica something. She was on the weekends and she got in trouble. It's always like they have like one lady on and then they get kicked off for being racist. It's like, it's just what happens, so, but even in sports radio, I mean, it's just like you've got like one, like, tinsel on the tree, but it's not, the star on top of it.
Well, when I started in radio, the only place for a female was all nights.
Right. Or midday.
When I got into DC, it was just starting to have females on midday.
Yeah. And it was like the midday girl.
Right.
That's always what it was called. The midday girl. I mean, that shit is crazy. And I always felt like I did do mornings for about a year, which, remember why? Because it's one of the all-time great. They had hired at Z93 Moby in the morning. And for those of you who don't know, Moby was like he was MAGA before MAGA was cool, right? Like he was one of those like America. Like I remember he used to go on when he did mornings at Z93 and he used to say, right thinking Americans. This was back then. This is in the 90s, right thinking Americans. And I was like, Then he used to call Tom Petty, Tommy Petty, because he had like been a country guy like his whole career. And then management had this brilliant idea of like bringing him over because he did rock once. So they brought over Moby and then he'd be like, Tommy Petty. And I'd be like, not even his mother called him Tommy Petty. Like, what are you doing? Anyway, he got like it was like a sad story. Like he just had terrible ratings and nobody liked him, and for good reason. He wasn't nice to everybody. And then remember he got bit by like a tiger. He went to one of those like renegade. It was some sort of like, those like rock and rural, like roadside zoos, like not like almost like a Tiger King situation. He went to one of those and got mauled.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what animal mauled him. So anyway, he was off the air. I had to fill in for him, and then they made him do the traffic.
Oh, I remember that. That was horrible.
Okay, so I'm doing this morning show, and I'm doing the show with Dunham, and I think we had a pretty great show. But like it was never like let's try and let Mara lead the show. It was always just like, it was the Band-Aid. It was like the woman always has to clean up the mess. And I had to have fucking Moby do the traffic. But I mean, it was kind of great. I mean, and to his credit, he was still making, I would have done the same thing. He was still under contract, so he was making a shit ton of money to just read something. But the point is, there was never like, and who knows, maybe I just wasn't good enough or cut out for it too. Like, okay, fine. But there was never any like, oh, let's see if we can get a female host of the show. It was just something that it wasn't done then. And that's changed, which is great. I mean, not for terrestrial radio, but I mean I think in media in general, because some of the most powerful powerful people on TV are women. I mean, the best example of that is look at the Today Show. I mean, having Hoda and Savannah hosting it, they basically like fixed it after Matt Lauer, was a creep.
It's interesting. There's another bad situation in the past with radio. So when I first started in broadcasting, they would always put me in news because I was a good reader. I could just take anything.
Good voice too.
Thanks. So I could just read whatever, just give it to me, and I would never make any mistakes. It was always one take, boom, 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 boom. So they put me in news, but what I was finding out, they were putting me in news in morning shows. So when I came back to Atlanta from DC, the managers at Z93 said, well, here's your salary, and here's the salary we're going to pay your partner. I said, well, why is that? Well, you're going to be doing news. I said, you're going to move me all the way from Washington fucking DC and pay me what I think is okay and pay for my moving, but not be in equal pay because I'm a newsman. That's right. I said, well, then I'm not coming. I don't think they were expecting that. I said, no, I want the same exact amount of money down to the penny as my partner, and I want the same bonus structure, or I'm not coming. It's not fair. It took 2 months for them to figure it out before they would say, okay.
Well, those days are sadly over. Now they're like, will you come do the news? And then we also need you to do the news in San Antonio, Pasadena. They're going to give you 8. I mean, I know one host currently, somebody pretty well known in Atlanta radio who's, stuck voice tracking for other markets. And they don't have a whole lot of say in it. It's just, that's the way it goes. So it's a bummer, but look at you now. You're podcasting from your office. I mean, you're just doing it, Scott.
Oh, and guess what else? I received my pardon in the mail.
Pardon for what?
I got a pardon. Just says, Scott Woodside, congratulations. You have received a pardon from President Donald J. Trump.
That's amazing. He's going to pardon everybody. The stuff, I mean, obviously I don't want to get grim with all the dark stuff that's happened, but like some of these presidential medals of freedom, like, I mean, that's like, I think we'll just have to cancel those out. Like, as we're recording this today, apparently Jim Jordan got one, and that guy's the worst. I mean, put on a fucking jacket. I mean, forget your politics. Just like get yourself together. And plus he's like a rapey wrestling guy. Like, ugh.
Doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, it's just been such a crazy. It's been a crazy 4 years, and I just want to be able to. I just want to be able to wake up. What's weird? This is probably bad. Like, in a weird way, like it's like I'm so addicted to news and Twitter, and I love it, and it's just like it's nonstop and I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be so boring, and I guess that's really good, but I will miss some news. That's a terrible thing to say. It's kind of like if you're Stephen Colbert or if you're Jimmy Kimmel or if you're Samantha Bee and you have been having your content based on Trump content the past 4 years, and it's been very profitable and people have a desire for it. So it'll be interesting to see where we are in the next 4 years. And I know conservative people will basically be like, oh, the media goes easier on liberals or Democrats and this and that. Maybe that's true, but you're not going to have the volume of scandal and fuckery that was there the past 4 years, from, Melania wearing a jacket, that says, I don't really care to you, to saying, I have to do the fucking Christmas. That's my favorite Melania moment ever. Like, there was so much going on. I can't believe, their whole brand was like, we can't say Merry Christmas anymore. It's a war on Christmas. And the fucking first lady says, I can't believe I don't give a fuck about Christmas. And it was just like, nothing to see here, people. It almost made me like her for a minute, because I kind of feel the same way. I mean, like December 26th, I'm like, Mike, get the fucking tree down.
Well, at our age, we keep ours up all year.
You do?
Yeah, we just keep it up in the living room, dusted
No,
every 3 months.
No, you don't. I mean, this year I feel like we needed it, but after a while, because our Christmas was so sad and pathetic, it was just the three of us. It was so boring. It was just, it's just been a dumb year. Did you get your shot?
No.
Because you said you're 71.
71.
So
No.
you're in the, you can get in line.
Yeah, I've been in line, but it was the wrong line. They were handing out free condoms. I've been here 2 days in a chaise lounge, and you give me 2 condoms. I'm 71. What am I going to do with them? They said, the line for the vaccine's over there.
Oh my God. I'm uncomfortable. So I'm going to change the subject. You know what my mother said? She's so funny. So she got her first vaccination, which is great. She lives in Boca. And she said, you go to the club. She's in Boca. She's like, and everybody's saying, I got my shot. I got my shot. It's like the new, I got tickets to Hamilton. I got my shot. I got my shot. I got tickets to Hamilton. It's like, a couple of years ago, that's what everybody bragged about. And now everybody's bragging about this. So it's really funny. And I think they have why, and I know everybody's saying this, but why isn't Chick-fil-A running the shots? Just let Chick-fil-A, they should have done all the testing and the vaccines. I don't care if they're injecting a little Jesus into me. It's fine. I'll take it. It's fine. It's organized.
And you're already in a long line.
Right. I'll have some nuggets while I'm at it. It's great. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that I'm hoping that in the next 3 months that there's going to be more vaccines that come on the market. And so that's why I remain hopeful in all the darkness, because I think I heard Sanjay Gupta say this, that after the pandemic of 1918, the flu, 1918, that's what led into the roaring 20s, that people were just cooped up and were sick. And that's why people lost their damn minds and were just drinking and fucking and dancing. And, so I think that's what's going to happen once we get out of it. I mean, before I was such a lazy ass and I'd be like, I don't feel like going to that concert. I'm just going to stay home. Now I'll be opening of a fucking envelope. What time, I'll be going. Because it's weird. I'm tired of being home, but I'm also so fucking lazy. I'm like, oh, I'll just go to the grocery store tomorrow. Oh, I'll just go tomorrow. It's that has become a chore. The only thing I'm really good at is just talking your fucking ear off right now. Well, I've been drinking coffee Been drinking a lot of coffee. And how's it going there in Roswell? I mean, what was the Roswell vibe like? I mean, people aren't like did you see a lot of Leffler and Purdue signs in your neighborhood?
I would say it's about 50-50 because, over the past 4 years, the demographics have shifted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So 4 years ago, you wouldn't have seen any Ossoff or Warnock. But yeah, there's a big shift in demographics all throughout Roswell.
Oh, great restaurant closed in your neighborhood, that Foundation Social Eatery. What a bummer.
We went there when it opened. We were like some of their best customers. I didn't know they closed.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough year on the restaurant business. It's I think the story about the restaurants that people aren't talking about is that restaurants are always hanging on by a thread for the most part. And some of those ones that closed out of the gate were hanging on by a thread. But it's some people have pivoted. Some restaurants have done a great job with the pivot and have done like incredible things with their takeout. Like there's a restaurant in my neighborhood, Grana, and they opened when the pandemic started. And their takeout business is so insane. Like sometimes if you try to order too late, they're like, we're not taking any more takeout orders for the night. Like that's incredible. But the flip side of it is that, trying to morph into a new business model is very, very tough. I think a lot more restaurants will close. And I don't know about you, we've just been cooking so much.
Yeah. And again, tonight is chicken night. And it was either chicken thighs or chicken breast.
But did you go for thighs, right?
I wanted the thighs, but I'm married. Cindy, my wife, wanted the breast. So we're going to have dried out chicken breast tonight on the grill. I can't wait.
Sounds awesome. I mean, you always want the thigh because it's like the tender meat.
You're right. And Costco has the best chicken thighs on the market.
Oh my God. Are you a Costco guy?
I am. I've turned into, my own worst nightmare. I love it there.
You should hang out with my husband, Mike Kane, who is your friend.
Oh, yeah?
Mike Kane, I say that his mistress is Kirkland Signature.
Yeah. Everything's Kirkland. My underwear, my golf balls. I've got a Kirkland putter.
He loves those golf balls.
The golf balls are great.
Yeah. When the magazine comes, do you read it?
I do. And I rip out pages. I said, I'm not going to remember this, so I just rip out the whole page.
So he's so obsessed that by the way, there's a great Instagram account that I recommend you follow. It's called Costco Does It Again. And it's just like people's like great Costco finds, because you know how they have different products all over the country. But Mike made last week, he was all excited because he had bought these spring rolls from Costco. And he said, it's new spring roll technology. They're high-tech spring rolls.
Mike. That's the Mike I know.
Okay, but the reasoning was, Scott, that because you didn't have to deep fry them, you could put them in the oven and they were crispy, like they were deep fried. So it was spring roll technology, high tech. And they were fabulous.
Well, I just read a big article on wine. Kirkland's coming out with all of this new red and white wine with the big K on it. And they explain why it's better than anything. I grabbed a couple of bottles and it was cheap. It was something you look around and say, I hope no one sees me buying a bottle this big and this cheap, but I'm going to try it. My wife, Cindy, is a Chardonnay freak. And I said, just try it. Let me pour it. You try it. She said, that's the best Chardonnay I've ever had. This is Kirkland.
It's the Kirk Sig, man. It is. We really love it. So yeah, that's been a highlight. That's like been through the pandemic. That's been like a date for us. Like, ooh, I'm gonna go to Costco. I mean, yeah, this is a whole thing. This is like, how do you know you're getting old? When we're sitting here having a deep dive on the greatness of Costco. That Costco, I mean, they just remember in the beginning of the pandemic, these dumb idiots, not even the anti-maskers, fuck them. I'm talking about because they started making the cake smaller because it was sort of like they didn't want to encourage large gatherings, and like people were like losing their minds. But my favorite thing Costco did this year, which really claims my loyalty to them. They used to carry this pimento cheese, this Palmetto Island pimento, and that pimento cheese, it does things to me, Scott. I can't even buy it because it's a giant jug of it, and it's just the jalapeno, that cheese. It pains me that I can't buy it anymore because the owner of the company like went on a Black Lives Matter racist tirade. And to be fair, he did apologize and he sort of backtracked, but Costco was, and then the next time we went to Costco, it was like, we are no longer carrying that brand. And I just thought it was interesting because there was no fanfare. There was no making an announcement. We're not carrying it anymore. It was just like, you know what? And now there's some other brand, which I haven't tried because I try to avoid pimento cheese because it's a trigger for me.
Me too.
But anyway, well, I love talking to you.
I am so glad that you agreed to come on and be my first ever guest, my first of many. I've missed talking to you. I miss your husband, Mike. How old is Charlie now, your son?
You want to feel old?
Yeah.
He's 15.
15?
Yeah. I'm a mother of a teenager. That's why I got to wrap it up because I got to go pick him up at basketball practice. He's like a full-on dude, man.
How tall is he?
He's tall. He's probably like 5'8", 5'9". He's really into basketball, and he's a good kid, you know. And it's weird parenting a teen in general, but parenting a teen in a pandemic, it's been quite rare.
Yeah, my grandkids, I have twin grandkids that are 16, and
wow, they're 16. I remember when they were babies.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're swim freaks. They're going to go. They're juniors in high school now, and they're going to get scholarships. 3 of the 4 kids get swimming scholarships, and they do it because they like it. And we all know that's the true key to success. Do something you love.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And that's why like I can stay happy. And that's why do what you love, pay it forward. When I got out of radio, someone gave me great advice, network with all your people and offer to help out where you can. And that did really work out for me by saying, you know, to just keep yourself busy. And especially to keep your mind sharp as we age too, as we obsess over Costco.
Mara, it's been a treat. We could talk for hours.
We could, but no one would listen. So it's time to wrap it up. I wish you the greatest of luck on your podcast. And everybody should listen to mine, the Vote Her podcast. And I will have a new one coming out in a few months. So I'll keep you posted. Follow me on social media at Mara Davis, and, you know, politics for ladies, but guys too.
All right. Well, much continued success. It's great to see you. I hope you have a fantastic 2021. And can we do this again? Can we talk more?
Anytime. What else am I doing?
All right. Take care.
All right. Love you, Scott.
Love you, Mara.